start has a brand new way to wake up.
One of the great anomalies of this state over some time was our ability to spend taxpayer money, about $10 million, in fact, to give to Tasmanian alkaloids to grow medicinal cannabis. And yet the regime by which people were able to use it was so restrictive, so tight, so hard to qualify for, that up until, in fact, around about today, there are 20 people who are able legally to use medicinal cannabis in Tassie. So we had this sort of anomalous situation playing out where Tasmanians, to an extent, were being taken for a bit of a ride. So $10 million of your money to grow the stuff, but it was very difficult to actually use it as a Tasmanian. Now, fortunately, that's about to change as the Therapeutic Goods Administration, which the state government has backed, will enable very low doses of medicinal cannabis to be sold at pharmacies without a prescription. But it's not all roses for those who need higher doses, or indeed those, say, children, people under the age of 18, who won't have access to it. The situation is best highlighted perhaps by the Cannabis Awareness Tasmania founder Lynn Cleaver, who has so much skin in this game. It's very difficult to talk about all of it in a very short radio interview. Lynn, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. I'm well, thanks.
Excellent. How's Jeremy, your son, who is going to be the subject of part of this conversation?
He's doing quite well under the circumstances. We're doing the best we can.
Okay. The changes to enable people to get low dose cannabinoids from the pharmacy, you'd obviously be in favour of that, but there's but ... What's the but ... for you?
Yeah, it's a good step, but as you said, it's very, very low dose, and it is only for CBD. So for patients who are using other cannabinoids, THC, there'll be none of that available from behind the counter at your pharmacy. It will take a long time for companies to bring these products to market, for it to be on the ARTG. So it's time, and it's not going to be enough for a lot of patients. Okay,
so, and also those who are using on the black market, and there are many, and I'll tell you a story in a minute that'll you'll go, yes, I'm aware of that, but most people will go, you got to be kidding. The controlled access scheme has provided for only one type, but if you're using the illicit product, in other words, just regular old marijuana or cannabis, the over-the-counter stuff's not going to do the trick, is it?
No, and that's why people like us who cultivate the medicine for Jeremy, because the benefit is he gets a broad cannabinoid profile, which is essential to his health and well-being.
Okay. The person I'm about to talk about has given me permission to do this, and I have to talk about it. It's very sad, but just as I was coming out of hospital myself in early September last year, we were advised, my family, who was advised that my dad here in Hobart has terminal cancer. He has somewhere between 6 and 12 months to live. It's without going into massive detail, he's had a couple of surgeries related to that which have diminished his quality of life significantly. The medical advice in and around him is that he would benefit greatly from the full dose cannabis, not just the watered down, non-psychoactive, non-THC variety. And the advice from the doctors was don't bother going through the scheme. It's too difficult. It's too hard. You're better off checking out some friends and getting it on the black market. To which my response was, you've got to be bloody kidding. How do you go about doing that? How do you access black market medicine when you don't have any capacity to do that, which I don't. I just don't. For all sorts of reasons, I don't. But I'm very happy to, risk my job and get into trouble in order to make sure that my dad has the necessary stuff he needs in the weeks remaining, and there are literally only weeks. It annoyed me greatly that was the advice from the doctors in Tasmania. You're going to have to get it illegally because going through the process is too difficult.
I'm really sorry to hear that about your dad, Brian.
Thank you.
With the controlled access scheme, Michael Ferguson initially said this is all about protecting the patient. Now, in your experience and in our experience, obviously the controlled access scheme is failing the patients.
Well, when the doctors,
and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, indeed. When the doctors who would otherwise be able to prescribe the full strength stuff very easily, and we're talking specialists here and other GPs that I've spoken with privately and off the record in the ensuing months, it just staggers me that we're not in a position to prescribe the full strength stuff by either a GP or a specialist. I mean, a specialist. In fact, this has happened to me after I got out of hospital. The specialist was prescribing some pretty strong opiates as pain relievers, and I'm just stunned that we're in a position where, you know, the advice from doctors is to buy on the black market. I genuinely can't believe it.
And I'm sure they hate to give that sort of advice, but that they already know in their professional opinion that cannabis medicines could alleviate some of your dad's symptoms. The irony of it all, Brian, is that if your dad and patients like Jeremy lived in another state, they would have access and they would have legal medicine in their medicine cabinet.
I just want my father to have the best quality of life that he can possibly have for what time remains. Incidentally, for those wondering that it's completely inappropriate to talk about my father on the radio like this, I did consult with him and talked about what I wanted to talk about on the radio and why, and whether I had his permission to do so, and he was absolutely, yes, mate, go for it. So
he's a very brave man.
Well, he's going to need to be, because the medicines that are available, unfortunately, are so heavy duty that they will cloud him, they will fog him, and the back end of his life will be one of not only, you know, some pain, and the nature of the cancer that he has is incredibly painful. It's one of the worst, without going into detail. So you know, there's heavy duty morphine that the doctors can prescribe, but he'll be basically a vegetable, and I'd rather him be a bit happy, if I can use that term, than be, you know, mostly comatose.
And you'll find too, Brian, that most people that use cannabis in late stage illness like that, it means that they can take less of the conventional medicine, so they are more alert and get to say their goodbyes and all those sorts of things that we all want our end of life to be. Yeah,
it just staggers me that you know, taxpayers are contributing to the growing of this product, and yet the advice from the medical. I mean, what is it? The government doesn't trust doctors to make an appropriate judgment and be able to prescribe the full strength stuff. Do they not trust the medicos? They can't, can they?
Well, under the scheme that Michael Ferguson orchestrated, our specialists they don't have the final say. TMAC has the final say, and there are a set of specialists that, you know, don't know the patients, and they're making decisions about our clinical care.
It's got to change. We will talk some more about this as things progress, Lynn. I'm determined to get some change in this area. And look, I should also point out that I've been talking about this issue for more than 5 years here in Tassie, and a couple of 3 years on the mainland as well prior to coming here. So it's not like it's just become an important one for me because it's now a personal issue for me and my family. This has just made it even, I guess, a little more urgent from my point of view. And from our family's point of view, it's a completely untenable situation, and the government needs to change it.
Yep. All Lynn, the best to your dad, Brian.
Lynn, thank you, and best to Jeremy as well and your family. I know you to an extent live in fear, not in fear of of being busted, because I know you'd be prepared to handle that, but it's just simply not having the medicine, it being confiscated from Jeremy.
Yeah.
Okay, take care. We'll talk soon.
You too.
Thanks,
Bye.
Lynn. Lynn Cleaver, Cannabis Awareness Tasmania founder. This is Triple M.